Hey, indie filmmakers, I'm Griffin Hammond.
I'm Nick Bodmer, and today I've been helping Griffin set up everything he needs to live stream on YouTube and Twitch, so we'll talk about the equipment he's been using.
Also, in today's episode, I am lighting myself through a mirror in a hotel room right now, so we'll talk about that setup. Nick and I also want to play you some cinematic music that we love, and answer an audience question about transitions. But first, Nick, we can finally reveal that celebrity that I got to work with.
Okay, so this was like 2 episodes ago, and you were filming something secret, and you couldn't tell us who it was, and you shared a pixelated photo, and now what?
Well, yeah, it was just one of those things where, like, you can't, I shouldn't have, I couldn't tell you what it was until the video came out, and finally the video has come out, so now I can tell you that the celebrity that I got to work with was Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, and some people guessed that pretty quick.
Everyone guessed it.
We're like, I don't know, could be, maybe something else.
I just love that I posted the video with a blurred out version of Jeff Goldblum, and instantly, like in 1 minute after I posted the video, the first comment was like, "It's Jeff Goldblum."
I mean, when you know what it is and you see it pixelated, you're like, no, nobody can tell what it is. But I guess you need to do a better job blurring in the future, Griffin.
Yeah, I mean, that taught me an important lesson that you need to make the pixels larger. And yeah, there's this weird, like, psychological effect that you forget about, that, like, brains are good at filling in the gaps. And so, especially on a full screen, when the pixels are pretty large, I go, yeah, that is very censored. No one can tell what that is. But the problem is, once it gets shrunk down onto an iPhone or a little tiny YouTube window, there's something about the smaller pixels. Your brain just does fill in the gaps. Like, it looks like it's completely censored, but your brain is like, I think that looks like the shape of Jeff Goldblum.
It's kind of amazing. And then, like, there were people who were like, I know that room. He owns that place, or something like that. It's like, how do people know this stuff?
The real trick was that someone went over to Jeff Goldblum's Instagram. I mean, which, of course, you should go do that. Great research skills, because if everyone thinks it's Jeff Goldblum, let's go look. Let's look for some
corroborating evidence.
Yeah, exactly. And someone saw that the shirt that I had failed to blur out, because I was like, who's going to know about Jeff Goldblum's shirt? But he just happened to post on his Instagram the same day. Like, he recorded a video right after he shot our interview. He went and recorded something for Instagram, and he's wearing the same shirt. So it's like right there. But I don't feel bad that everyone figured it out. I'm glad you did. I just am glad that I wasn't the one. It's just nice to know that I didn't spill the secret on purpose. I don't know.
Well, did you? I mean,
I feel like my hands are clean here.
All right. So that was, I mean, you told me about it, so I was in on the secret, which was fun. But, I mean, it sounded like a really cool setup and cool experience. He was a good guy to work with, so that's neat.
Yeah, it was fun to rent a bunch of gear in Los Angeles. We talked about in that episode how it was a long interview, and we wanted to shoot on monopods so that we could kind of simulate a handheld look, but not get exhausted over a 2-hour interview. But it was fun to rent, like, some big Kino flows from Sammy's camera. It was a nice big setup. We had a sound recordist, so I didn't have to be thinking about the audio at all. And Jeff Goldblum was really fun to be around. He's a very personable guy. When he met me, I said, "Hi, I'm Griffin," and he said, he misheard me, and he said, "You're terrific."
I can hear him say it too, just in my head.
But he's fun because this whole thing is improving and being very open to what's happening in a scene and being a very good listener and reacting. But his philosophy is, don't just do that for acting, but also do that in your life, that you are a more interesting person if you are interested.
I had a good teacher, Sandy Meisner, and he said, look, really put your attention on the other guy, whether it's the scene partner you're working with or the thing that you're really trying to do. Have your interest not on yourself, but on get interested in something. And as fact, you'll be interesting to the extent that you're interested in something outside, just like babies are and animals are. They're interesting because they're actually free to get involved with that ball of string.
Babies, dogs, and Jeff Goldblum. Got it.
Yeah, be like them. Yeah, that's the advice.
Best Jeff Goldblum movie, go.
I mean, I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan, so I mean, that's
the right
very
answer.
obvious.
Excellent
Yeah.
work. Excellent work. Thank you. Just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Wait, as long as we're here, let me play the outtake from the Monopod episode that I did not include in the episode because Nick had this funny idea, like, oh, I'll just drop some hints throughout the episode about who this celebrity could be. But I feel like it was the first hint you dropped. It was way too obvious.
You know what's interesting is if you got a monopod with those little feet out and you let go of it, it's going to fall in a different direction each time. It's chaos theory.
I think that hint was too good.
That's something you can cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the obvious one. It wasn't your pixelated photo that was going to give it away. It was my jokes. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, I guess that's the irony here is that I thought that by editing out that outtake that we would not give it away, and I gave it away in the first 5 seconds of the episode, I guess. But thank you all for coming on this months-long journey of waiting for the truth.
All right, so you're in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, I'm here for a client shoot. It was just a quick one-day shoot, and then I had this morning, so I thought we should record the podcast. But I'm in a hotel room right now, which is always a challenge to make look decent for the podcast, I think. I'll tell you, the worst thing I think about hotel rooms is I like my shot a lot right now, but there's always a giant bed in the shot, and it's on like a huge box spring and you know, it's just like really tall. Like
it's tall. Yeah.
And the chair I'm in is relatively low and I can't get it any higher. So like I almost feel like the mattress is like pointing right at my shoulder. Like it's right behind me and it's way too big. And there's no
you need to
diminishing
start
that.
Getting like suites, you know, so you have
Right.
like a sitting area and a couch and a foyer, which is a fun word.
And sometimes I like to point the background out the window, but the window I'm looking out here isn't very interesting, and it's always hard to light for, you know, the bright sunlight outside. Today I have like a green door that I thought was ever so slightly interesting, so I decided to point inward into the room. But it left me in this weird challenge where the desk is kind of stuck in one corner of the room. I have to be at the desk, and I want to be in this corner of the room, but there's no room for me to get a light on the correct side of the camera. But there is a mirror right here in front of me. And so what I ended up doing is bringing my light dome, and the light dome is kind of like right on top of my camera. It's kind of pointing at my camera, and I have the 40-degree grid on it. If it weren't for the grid, the light would be hitting me directly in the face, but instead the light is moving forward across the camera into the mirror and then coming back at me from the other side.
So it's almost two lights in one, because I'm sure you're getting a little bit on the other side of your face, right? The non-mirror side.
I would be if it were
not
backed
quite
up
as
a little
bright.
bit, but it's actually like so close to me that it's past me. It's kind of
okay, I get it.
It's hard for you to see because you can't see. As we know, this isn't.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to draw a diagram.
Yeah.
I need like a blueprint.
You'll see it in the final YouTube episode. And then I'm
All right.
using my. This is actually kind of a funny hotel room setup. I'm using another light behind me as a backlight, and I'm kind of trying to mimic, like pretend like this lamp behind me is hitting me as a backlight, but it's actually this very bright light that's hanging over my bed. I'm using a boom arm, but I didn't bring any weights to counterweight this boom arm, and I really need it. So my suitcase right now is hanging from one side of the boom.
You're gonna have to share a picture of this because
Yeah.
that's
It's
fantastic.
like a crazy seesaw in my hotel room right now. But I'm pretty proud of this setup. I think it looks pretty
So there's
nice.
a practical in the shot, but the actual
Yeah.
light's coming from off camera. Am I
Right.
getting that right?
That's exactly right, yeah. In fact, I set up this shot, and I thought, well, that lamp is in the background. I should probably turn it on because, you know, if you're going to see it at all, it might as well be on. I knew it would be very yellow. And then I decided I was going to throw a blue gel on the backlight. But as soon as I did it, I thought, oh, those clash because, like, it looks like the backlight is coming from the lamp, so I might as well embrace that and go with that color. So I actually took off the gel, and then these are these bicolor Amarin 200X lights that I'm using. These are aperture lights.
Warmed it up.
Yeah, and so I was able to, you know, I think it's on like 3,500 Kelvin or something. So I made it kind of match the backlight.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's hotel talk for you.
And how's the concierge there? You know, should we get to do a full review of the hotel?
Right. I mean,
should
I
not.
feel like I could do like a travel podcast. Like I know all the credit cards that you need to use and how to earn the travel points and what airlines to book and, you know, but that's a whole separate side of my personality.
That's a different podcast, Griffin.
Yeah.
So you have been a live streaming maniac lately.
Yeah, I've been trying to get experienced at it because like I have done live streams in the past on YouTube like over the years.
Like before it was cool, you were doing live streams, I feel like.
Yeah, I guess I had been doing it for a while. I never made it a regular thing though. It's always like I would do like one a year. And
Right.
I feel like streaming used to be more difficult. I feel like it was kind of a two-pronged process of like you'd have to go to YouTube, set up an event and like click start on the YouTube side and then like go to your streaming software and now send it to the Rtmp server. I feel like it was like you had to like throw and catch. And now all the streaming services seem easier. Like you just start streaming to the Rtmp server and Twitch just goes, and the same with YouTube. So I kind of realize, I think I've like been intimidated, but I'm realizing now like the OBS software is not that hard to use. The technology has gotten simpler, like capture cards. The streaming tech websites are easier. I guess it's a PSA to say anyone who's thinking about getting back into streaming, it's really not all that difficult.
I've wanted to do some streaming, especially like I would be the video game streaming type person. You know, I just think that'd be kind of fun, even though no one would ever watch. But you know, I've got the driving simulator set up to my left here.
Yeah,
I was like, that'd be kind of fun to stream, you know, racing and stuff like that. So maybe once you are really an expert, you can help me get something like that going. Let me know if you guys want to see me very poorly sim race against other people.
Well, I've been following the Twitch subreddit, where just to kind of
not on that one,
to see what people talk about, what they complain about. And you know, a common complaint amongst Twitch streamers is like, I stream 20 hours a week and I'm only getting an average of 2 viewers. And my thinking is always like, well, I mean, one, Twitch encourages everyone to be a streamer. Like everyone who is an audience member on the site is probably, I mean, they would like you to stream as well. So of course the audience is going to be spread thin. You're always going to struggle to get a huge audience on Twitch. But also like, you don't need to be streaming everything you do or everything you play. Like I imagine a lot of these people, the answer would be just be a little bit more targeted. Like do a solid half hour or an hour in one session. You know, I don't know if you need to be streaming 5 hours straight necessarily until you build an audience for that. Because I think a lot of people can get,
I don't know.
I think a lot of people can get like a peak audience to show up for a certain amount of time, but you're not going to expect everyone to sit with you for hours and hours and hours. So I don't know.
Well, and I feel like we might, this is such a dumb thing and it's not even true, but I'm going to say it anyway. But like, are we just like barely too old to get the whole streaming culture thing? Like it happened kind of like right after we were at that peak age of like late high school, early college type. Am I wrong? Like,
no, I mean, I agree with that assessment. And I think, you know, there is a cultural thing around streaming. I mean, you see it a lot in the subreddit where when people are complaining about not getting an audience, a lot of the response is, well, then just don't do it. If you're not having fun, don't do it. And people saying like, well, I just stream for fun. And like, if 2 people want to show up and watch me, that's great. But I'm just playing a game and having fun. And so there's kind of 2 ways to view it. Maybe you do want to stream 20 hours a week because you just enjoy it. And but personally, as an introverted person, I get kind of exhausted after doing this podcast with you. I mean, I love it, but like, it's hard
exhausting.
to be.
I know.
It's hard to be on as an introvert, and so I can't imagine like streaming that much. I kind of need to like really plan it out and think about it, and maybe I'll do an hour a week or something.
It's funny because I guess I'm not that way. Like this is not tiring for me, and in fact, it's pretty similar to what I do for my job, especially in COVID
you're in
times.
sales,
Because I'm on camera in Zoom meetings and stuff like all day long talking to people, and presenting stuff all the time. So maybe I should get into the streaming more, Griffin. So let's talk about it. So let's talk about your setup because I might need to duplicate it here.
Well, one of the things I wanted to test right away was several months back, I got rid of my old Blackmagic capture card, which wasn't compatible with all the new stuff. And so I got the Elgato Camlink 4K, which is a very common USB streaming device. I mean, it's HDMI. To get HDMI into
right
your computer.
now.
Yeah. And then when I started playing around with, I was playing around with a little mixer. I could mix all my sources into the Elgato. I could put 4 cameras through a mixer and then go into one Elgato Camlink. But then when I was playing around with, like, if I want to do split screen or something in OBS, I really need 2 video sources coming into the computer. So I got a second Camlink, but right away I had read on the on Elgato's website that you may have trouble with 2 if they come in on the same USB bus.
Mm-hmm.
And so
a lot of data.
Yeah. And I wonder if maybe that's a problem with 4K, because I found that in 1080 it didn't seem to matter if I was on the same USB bus. I could plug them both in through USB-A, and it actually was working at the same time. But then I also thought, to alleviate a potential problem, I could just split this to my USB-A bus, and then if I use a USB-C adapter, I could plug the second one into a Thunderbolt port, which I'm assuming, I don't know enough about technology, maybe you know. I'm just assuming those are completely different bus systems. The Thunderbolt and the USB-A.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but that sounds right.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like I experienced that on my laptop. I haven't tested it out on my MacBook Pro yet. I haven't actually done a stream on there, but I did plug in both cam links to 2 different Thunderbolt ports, and in the system activity or system report, they were showing up on 2 distinct USB buses. It kind of seemed like on the MacBook Pro, all 3 Thunderbolt ports are independent USB buses. Would that make sense?
Yeah, it would.
Yeah. So maybe it would work on there too.
I mean, on the MacBook Pro, it's designed to support, and the fact that they're Thunderbolt, which is even higher bandwidth,
right.
That makes sense, right? They might have to split it up that way.
So yeah, maybe I'll try to do some streaming from the road on the MacBook Pro soon.
On the road again.
Although I immediately realized when I got here to Dallas, if I'm going to try to do something like that, I may need to kind of change up where I get my audio from, because the MacBook Pro only has 3 Thunderbolt ports. One of them I would use for Ethernet with a Thunderbolt to Ethernet adapter, or USB-C to Ethernet, and then, which arguably maybe I do need, maybe I don't need. The other 2 ports would be taken up by the 2 cam links, and then I realized, I don't know where my audio comes in, because my audio comes from the H5 through USB. I would need like another dongle.
You could probably get one of those dongles that has Ethernet and USB-A on it, so you could kind of share that port with the non-bandwidth intensive peripherals.
Right. But I also have my Lumix XLR1 adapter that goes on top of the camera, so I'm guessing I could send my audio through the camera, come through HDMI,
just
and the audio would
the whole thing, especially for remote. That would be great, right?
Yeah. So I might have to do that for remote live streaming.
But you've done what, 2 live streams now with this setup?
Yeah. I've done 2 streams. I'll probably try to do 1 every week. So I'm doing those on YouTube. I'm using a service called Restream to send it to YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch at the same time. I encourage anyone who is on Twitch, please follow me at Griffin or at twitch.tv/Griffin Hammond. But I'm also on YouTube, so if you'd prefer to watch it on YouTube, where I have a bigger audience anyway, I don't expect everyone to jump ship, but it would be nice to build an audience on Twitch too.
Yeah, so what's the difference between the audiences on Twitch and YouTube, do you think?
I mean, that's a great question. I would think the major difference would be, I would just assume that 80% of the streams on Twitch are video games, which may be completely wrong. There may be like so much chatting and ASMR content that who knows. But it's definitely culturally a video game streaming site, so that's what people expect more on Twitch, whereas YouTube is everything. But I also think there's a place for a filmmaking live stream on Twitch.
the thing, I don't do a ton of Twitch streaming, like in terms of watching it, but I do some. And the one I like is one of the podcasters that I listen to their tech podcast every week. He does a Friday keyboard club where he like builds mechanical keyboards. It's this whole thing where people build their own keyboards. And he just, he's like there's like chill music playing, and he just like works for like an hour, and sometimes he's talking and sometimes he's not, and it's actually kind of nice just to throw on in the background like while I'm working, because sometimes it's interesting and sometimes it's just chill, and it's a whole different thing than you'd expect, but it's quite interesting. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of maker content on Twitch, and so I've thought about, even if I was just like setting up for a shoot, that could be an interesting live stream. If I was editing, I could be editing. I was going to say live.
Editing it, same kind of thing. Like you could mix in a little. Well, you wouldn't want to hear music while you're editing, probably, but you could mix it in for the feed, and just people could just peek in. And the problem is, I guess most of the time you probably don't want to show what you. I mean, if you're editing the podcast or something, you could show that, right? Not your work stuff, probably.
It would require some personal growth on my part, because I have always been someone who struggles a little bit with people looking over my shoulder while I edit, because editing to me is a place to experiment and try new things. And you move an edit point, like, would this be better if I moved this 3 frames forward? And then you play it back and go, no, that timing was wrong, and you change it. Now I'm sure people listening right now would say, oh, that's the interesting stuff. That's stuff I want to see. But it's just like, psychologically, I have to get over this idea.
You want everyone to see the best that you can do when it's done. Not, I don't know why that just popped into my head. Do you remember when we were in high school and we were like on my computer in my bedroom editing videos, and it would be like the two of us there, like both messing around? What was that software we used called? Do you remember?
Oh, what was it called? I can't remember the name of it.
It was like, it was designed to make home movies, basically, right?
Yeah, and it was like a single track editor, so it was really difficult for us to like keep 2 files synced. Like, it was hard to edit weddings because you couldn't.
Oh yeah, and we would have to do like offsets. Like, we would do the math on time codes to keep things in sync.
Yeah, just to make a cut between the wide shot and the close-up, we'd have to go.
Yeah.
Okay, now cut in.
All right, subtract. This time code from this time code, and that's where it needs to start. Oh, Studio DV,
yeah, that's what it's called.
It just popped into my brain. Okay, anyway, sorry. When you said over my shoulder, that's what popped into my brain.
Well, I forget, like, was I like that back then? Did I
don't
hate it when you looked
that.
at me? Yeah, I do feel like...
I felt like, though, I was more the one who was the hands-on keyboard, and you were making the decisions. Does that sound right?
That sounds right, yeah. I think we were pretty collaborative, and I think, if anything, you were probably someone I wasn't worried about looking over my shoulder, because we were like learning this stuff together. But I think that was something I developed into college. I kind of hated it when people looked over my shoulder, because I was still learning, and you have to experiment to learn, and you feel like an idiot when you're like trying something but it looks really dumb. Or
I feel the same way just doing my job, because like I think if people knew like how much I go to Google for stuff that I feel like I should know,
right?
It's like ridiculous. Or like, what did I ask you earlier? I was editing something yesterday, and I was like, I want to change a media file, and I'm like, I was Googling to try and figure out how to like replace an audio file with the new version, and I couldn't figure it out, and it was super obvious, and I would just feel real dumb if somebody
you had
watched
just
me
never
struggle.
used the relink function in Final Cut.
And I couldn't even find it. Like, I was like, does this even exist? You would think it would exist. And it was right there, and I don't know, my eyes just went straight over it.
Right.
But
do you usually bring your files into the Final Cut bundle, or do you when you import,
I do.
You don't check the leave files where they are?
No, I used to do that, but because I do things so sporadically, I kind of like having it all cleaned in one little file that I can then go like drop on my NAS for like long-term storage. So
yeah, it's good for backing up.
When I did the relink, I saw that it did not move it into the bundle, so I probably need to like drop the new file into the bundle and then relink, because it actually created like a temp shortcut, but the actual data was still in my like downloads folder.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
for me, I almost always reference the files where they are on the hard drive, because I try to do a fair amount of organization about where files live on the hard drive. So then I prefer to have lightweight Final Cut bundles that just reference those files. But it means that instead of relinking, if like sometimes on this podcast, if I need to do a denoising, I'll denoise the WAV file in Audition, Adobe Audition, and then I'll just rename the original file like noisy version or something, and then replace. I'll just change the file name of the new version to match the old version, and instantly Final Cut doesn't care. It doesn't say you need to relink. It just goes, oh, that's the one I'm going to reference now, and it just works. So you can also do that. Which I imagine you could do inside a bundle too. You could go inside the bundle and replace the file.
Because it's just files. It's just files, so same thing. Well, thank you for your help with that, by the way.
Yeah. Oh,
we'll talk about the video I released soon, probably.
While we're talking about the editing we did way back in high school on Studio DV, I had a thought yesterday that I kind of can't believe this is the case. It's 2022 right now, and I believe that I moved from Georgia to Illinois in 1997. So I think this fall is like the 25th anniversary of us knowing each other.
Wow. That makes me feel old.
It does. I wouldn't have said that. Like if you had asked like how long have you been friends, I would have been like 15 years maybe.
Yeah. 15, 20 years. The problem is
I don't know anyone
continues.
for 25 years.
It's March.
Yeah.
25 years. And we're still chatting.
Yeah.
That's nice.
25 years of still working
crazy.
Collaboratively together on edits, whether it's Studio
So you moved
DV.
in the fall and you joined. So that was what, like 7th grade, 8th grade?
It was 8th grade that
grade?
I came.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you came in the middle of the school year, or was it the start?
No, I think I came in the summer. I think I started
Okay.
that fall. And the first person I met was our friend Adam, and he brought me into your friend group.
Yeah, and then we had like every class together because we were on the same team in middle school.
Yeah. So thank you for being such a good friend.
It's all history.
Also, I want to thank you for helping me set up that weird system on my computer. I had this idea
Which didn't
that
really work very well, but we did get it to work.
Well, in my second Twitch stream, I tested it out and it worked pretty well. What I wanted to do was the GH5 Mark II can wirelessly stream on its own. It could stream straight to Twitch or straight to YouTube or anything like that. I don't want to do that, but I thought surely I could use that to somehow get it into my live stream that I'm producing in OBS and then get that to Twitch and YouTube. And so Nick helped me realize that I could set up an Rtmp server on my machine that would route the signal from the wireless signal from the GH5 Mark II, and then OBS could receive what's happening on an Rtmp server. And what I did is in the live stream, I actually did like a side-by-side between the HDMI version that's coming straight into the cam link and the wireless version. So we were really able to see side-by-side the delay and any quality issues. But actually the delay was not bad. It was like 1.5 seconds.
More than the wireless HDMI?
It was just straight HDMI. I was coming in.
Okay.
Yeah. So
no delay there.
Yeah, as we discovered, like I may not ever actually use that, but it was kind of cool just to like experiment.
Yeah, I had never even heard of Rtmp until you asked me about it, so I spun up on it pretty quick. But Rtmp is basically the protocol that like Twitch or YouTube use to do the live streaming. I guess it's actually fairly old. I think Adobe came up with it a long time ago, but still in use today to handle, real-time audio and video.
And I had never heard of Docker, which is, I always get confused when I go to like GitHub and see commands and stuff. And but Nick showed me this piece of software called Docker, which like lets you run commands kind of like, how would you describe it?
So it's
in a virtual
running
machine?
containers. It's like a virtual machine, but containers are actually more lightweight than virtual machines.
Yeah.
But what's nice is you can basically install software and all of the, all the requirements, and they're all nicely separated. So Griffin was looking at installing this Rtmp server directly on his Mac. And I said, you can do that, but then like if a config file, stuff can get messed up. If you do it in Docker, it's all self-contained and it's going to work exactly the same every time. So, and I use Docker a lot for my work stuff, so I'm familiar with it. So I said, let's just spin up Docker and launch a container for the Rtmp server, and then if you don't want it, you can blow it away, and it didn't install anything weird into your actual Mac computer and things like that. So it worked, I think.
Yeah, it worked. And what's nice is like you walked me through it, and it wasn't that difficult. And but like, yeah, I had to copy and paste a command into terminal, and it was like a couple of steps to get it started. But then once you've done it in Docker, you can just, in the Docker graphical user interface, you can just click stop, and then you could just click play again. And so it's like it runs the command again, or just like restarts its instance or something. Like it just, I never have to go into terminal again. I could just click play or stop in Docker, and it always turns on or turns off my Rtmp server for me. So that's
Which is interesting, because I've actually never used the GUI, so I didn't even know you could do that, because I do everything with the command line. But you figured that out really fast, so that worked out good.
Yeah. So thank you for helping me with that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I want you to hear this very cinematic music track I like. It's called Circle of Love by Francesco Cerrato. Whenever I'm searching through a music library, I tend to gravitate towards tracks that sound like Batman.
Okay. It's like Batman meets Game of Thrones.
Right. I don't always have a place for it in my work. I'm not always doing films that are this dramatic, but I just kind of love collecting these songs, because eventually I'll do some really fun thing and I'll need like something really meaty and dramatic. You want to tell them why we're playing this song for them right now?
Sure. So we're excited. We have a new sponsor for the podcast, Jambox.io.
I like that it's a different monthly plan, whether you're like me and you're doing client work, or like they actually split it out to be like YouTube monetization is one thing and you pay half as much.
$10 a month for a YouTube creator, like to have access to all this great music.
And you could save money as a Hey Indie Filmmakers listener. Use the promo code HEY15 to save 15% off any Jambox subscription. And you can just go to jambox.io right now and start browsing the music library for free.
Thank you, Jambox. We have a YouTube comment from Ahmad on your Argon video. Should documentary films use transitions or just cut between shots and scenes?
Oh, so yeah, this was a comment on my short film Argon about the neon lights. And I mean, I feel like 95% of the time I'm just using straight cuts for everything I do. Like that's
See, and I'm a little different there. I like to use star wipes for everything I do, like 95% of the time.
You don't do that. but I'm betting you do use more transitions than I do. But what are you sticking just to cuts and fades and dissolves?
I mean, I just posted a new video, and I think there is all cuts.
Yeah.
I don't think I have a single fade in there. Granted, it's a single shot in the entire video, but it cuts to black at the end.
Well, yeah, I went back through this film Argon, and I thought, well, I bet there's a fade at the beginning and a fade at the end, and I bet everything in between is cuts. And actually, it was all cuts. I think I cut just the film just starts, and then the film just ends. It's like a hard cut to black, and then actually the credits do fade in, or dissolve in, and then fade out. But I mean, that I think that's pretty standard for my work, is like using all cuts and then really just using some fades maybe for graphics. But this is all like the visual grammar of filmmaking. I mean, it kind of goes back to like classical Hollywood filmmaking would use like fade ins and fade outs, and then they use dissolves between shots to show the passing of time. And so to me, like the only time I ever really want to use a dissolve is like when time is passing.
And I feel like maybe that's a more modern take too. Like I feel like when I was doing wedding videos, I probably used a lot of dissolves.
Yes. Yeah.
Just for the softer feel. But I don't think the fact that it's a documentary means you have to use just cuts. I mean, I think there are certainly documentaries where all kinds of transitions could be appropriate, but it's more about the style of the film, I would say. Probably cuts, I guess, are going to be far more common, but...
Yeah, and I think like the phrase visual grammar is important to bring in, because it's just an acknowledgement that your audiences always have some understanding of what these effects mean to them. And a dissolve can mean the passing of time, and I'm sure audiences have seen that happen. So just be cognizant of when you use a dissolve, it could trigger that feeling in your audience, especially if it's like moving to a completely different scene, and especially if your film like feels very classic Hollywood. But audiences are also used to cuts signaling the passage of time too, like just a jump cut that takes us completely somewhere else or cuts through time. People understand that. And if people see like a big circle wipe, they don't see that much, but they probably saw that in Star Wars and probably all the Star Wars properties like The Mandalorian. And I mean, so you're kind of just understanding that people like have seen these things before, and where have they seen them and what does that mean to them? Like, I don't think you're going to see a lot of like barn door wipes happening in documentaries. It's just too silly.
You're taking shots at my star wipes, I feel like.
And I feel like I usually use dissolves as an effects tool. Like, I might dissolve in either a graphic or even when I'm trying to like hide things from you as an editor. Like if I had to make some weird cut on something in the background, I had to mask something out, maybe I'll have a mask dissolve in and then dissolve out to hide something, but hopefully you never noticed it happen. I mean, so all of these things you could use as tools to also hide something. I'm sure there are some dissolves in the edit of the film Argon to do something like that, but not anything visual. Because I just think I think cuts are so clean. I think one of the reasons I don't like dissolves is because like I like my shots and I really like when they start and end, and I want you to be fully visually engaged. And also, like, I'm a quick editor, so all my shots are going to be on screen for like a second, and I just don't want to waste time with shots blending on top of each other. But likewise, if you're trying to kill time, like in a wedding edit video, sometimes it is fun to have like a 2-second dissolve between a wide shot and a close-up, because like this is the hour-long edit of a ceremony, and you're just like, let's slow the pace down.
Or I'm going to kill myself if I have to keep watching the same shot.
Although even there, I feel like my current instinct as a filmmaker would be to stick with cuts. I think when I have more confidence in the shots themselves, then I feel like I want them to be kind of unimposed by effects, if that makes sense.
There you go.
Well, that was a good episode. I had fun talking to my 25-year friend, Nick.
We've acknowledged it. Now we can pretend like that number doesn't exist, right? Man, we're old. Oh well.
I mean, I don't
Sir?
even have to say that we've been friends for 25 years. I can just say that you are a father of 4 children, and that alone signals your experience in life.
The crushing weight of my own age, of my own mortality. Yes, thank you. Thank you. This has been a real pleasure.
Right.
Check out Griffin's live stream at twitch.tv/Griffin Hammond.
Griffin Hammond. Should people follow you on Twitch too for when you decide to do some more game streams?
What's my Twitch name? Good question. Don't know. Let's find out. Twitch.tv.
I'm guessing it's
Ampsonic. Probably.
It is Ampsonic, yeah.
It is? Okay. There you go.
I don't know.
AMPSONIC. Oh, I thought you were saying you were looking at it. Hang on, I gotta log in.
I think I was starting to say it,
it wants my authenticator token.
You are definitely Ampsonic, because the last thing you did was 4 years ago a bunch of PlayerUnknown Battleground streams.
See, I'm a Twitch streamer, man. I just, I've fallen off the wagon a little bit, but maybe we'll get back on. All right, my friend. I'll see you on the live stream.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
Have fun in Dallas. Don't mess with Texas. Bye-bye.
That if you are a good listener, people will gravitate towards you.
It's a good philosophy on life.
Right.
I don't think I do that very well.
You are a very good listener.